All right, everyone. It's the day we've all been waiting for months and months and months, ever since Georgia and Alabama stepped off the field in January. This is the day we've been waiting for. Yes, we got a little taste with the likes of Colorado State and Hawaii, but this is really the day that we've been waiting for, and it will come into full fruition in just 2 days on Saturday, with just about all the big games and the big teams playing throughout the weekend. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game that we love each and every day right here with analysis that you will not find anywhere else. There are a lot of great content creators out there who post some interesting videos, some funny videos, some really good videos for their particular teams. We do it a little bit different, as does everybody. So we appreciate you joining us here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. The voice, I've got a voice, you've got a voice. We bring on the best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the industry, and they, of course, have a voice as well. That's the thought process there. All right, thanks for joining the live stream. I was looking through viewer comments today, and I got to say that a few irritated me to the point that I thought, well, I'm going to do something that I've planned on doing for quite some time, and I have done in the past once or twice, but not on a regular basis, and that's address the mail directly. So I try to get back to as many of you as possible, and that's impossible because I got over 8,000 comments last month. So I cannot respond to all the comments. So I hope what that becomes more is that you express your opinion, your suggestions, and your thoughts and feelings, and then you guys start a conversation. I'll chime in from time to time, especially if I think it's a unique comment or something directed at me specifically that I will try to get to. But I cannot get to 8,000 comments, so it will probably be better for me in the future, in addition to, again, addressing a few comments every day, to come on here from time to time and address the viewer mail, which I will do in just a second. We've only got about 10 people on the line right now, so what I'm about to say won't hit too many ears, at least live, maybe on the taped version once it posts to my YouTube channel. But of course, like, comment, and subscribe. If this is not your favorite channel, that's fine. Certainly would like you to like, comment, and subscribe if you find any value in our college football analysis, the analysis of the people that we bring on a regular basis. There are dozens and dozens and dozens. I can't imagine that if you're a college football fan that you don't find value in whether you think I know what I'm talking about, but we bring on dozens and dozens of analysts from various platforms, SB Nation, Bleacher Report in the past, 247 Sports, Rivals, all over the map. I counted 107 guests last year, 107 contributors to Mark Rogers TV in 2017. If the audio works better for you than trying to catch these videos, then you go to Google Play, Podbean, iTunes, or Stitcher and search Mark Rogers TV. Now, we have not done a great job throughout the off season of posting everything that you see on video, because you see I crank out a ton of videos. I'm not able to maintain the pace of transposing all of those to audio so that they can be posted, but I need to do a better job of that, and will throughout the season when we do less but more impactful content. Of course, you guys have been listening to me for the past few weeks hype up my newsletter, and hopefully I deliver. I will deliver, but hopefully I deliver. Starting on Monday, that is Labor Day, September 3rd, I will be delivering a weekly newsletter with my take, my perspective on the college football weekend. It will also include stats, facts, trends that I have gathered and collected throughout my own experience, the things that I see and find, reading, watching. I'm going to collect those and provide for the college football junkie, you, the smart fan, the stats, trends, facts that you will not find in one place anywhere else. All right. Also included in the newsletter, to give you a behind-the-scenes look at our channel, our plans, and what we have envisioned for Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And maybe some personal comments back and forth as well. So keep that in mind, that I'm always looking for suggestions. And just because I don't act on your suggestion doesn't mean it wasn't valuable or I didn't take it into account. You guys have an idea, those of you who watch on a regular basis, how much content I am constantly cranking out. And once we get into the season, we're pretty much into a flow of previewing games, making predictions, watching the games, analyzing the games, providing response to the games, and then the cycle continues. That's pretty much the season. The season is watching football, previewing the next week's games, predicting the games, and then analyzing the games. And we hope that it's nothing more than that. Unless somebody gets in trouble or somebody does something stupid, then we have to veer off into NCAA issues and legal issues and off the field conduct. But we would like from the first week of September all the way through January just to be talking about football on the field. Then we'll deal with recruiting and National Signing Day. Of course, the first National Signing Day starting in 2017 in December and then in February. So we will hit that as well. You see the content that has been posted recently. I have made my way through the Pac-12, the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC, and through a number of teams in the Big 10. I am running against the clock of addressing the Big 10 Eastern Division in particular and Notre Dame, and I will talk about that in just a second. So we've got Michigan State and Wisconsin in play Friday night. Tonight, of course, Northwestern and Purdue. So I do have those video predictions and previews released and posted. Just check them out. Just a few videos back. Purdue and Northwestern, the big game on ESPN at 8 o'clock Eastern tonight. And we've got our previews and predictions on the Boilers and on the Wildcats. All right, you see the live stream posting on my banner on YouTube. So we have committed to Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern time, Monday at 6, Wednesday at 7. Thursday, we, of course, have football to watch. So post-game Thursday, that could mean 11:30 Eastern time after the 7 and 8 o'clock primetime games, or that could mean very late at night if we have some games from the Pac-12 and the West Coast. Thursday post-game, most likely, you guys know me, I'm going to jump on here at some point Friday, but maybe I'll clear out Friday to release previews and predictions for Saturday. This is a mighty big lift, but I'm committing to doing a 2-hour live stream prior to the noon kickoffs on Saturday. I think that will be a whole lot of fun to get you guys revved up and ready for the big games on Saturday and lead us all the way up to kickoff at noon Eastern time on Saturday. So I will, bleary-eyed and a bit staggering, I will hit this seat at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, and we will talk college football and preview Saturday that morning at 10 o'clock Eastern time up until noon. When we're ready to kick them off at noon, we will do so, and we will let you go watch football. And then throughout the day on Saturday, I will bring you instant analysis on the games that I am tracking, whether that's my solo analysis or I bring on, again, the best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the industry to talk up the games that they are locked in on. If you watched and were part of Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, last season, 2017, you've got a feel for what we do with the post-game instant analysis. I don't know that there's anybody else out there, unless they're responding to their own team, their own game, and want to show you their reaction to their team blowing a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter. We've all seen those videos, and they're fun to watch. In terms of just straight analysis, as the clock hits 0, I strike up the live stream, I get the notes together, and then I talk to you about what we just watched. And that's a whole lot of fun. Maybe that's the most fun aspect of this, is after watching the games, doing the instant analysis on the games. So I typically will do one somewhere around the 3 o'clock hour after the noon games. Maybe I was watching 2 games at the same time and was able to track. And then if I bring on a guest, that can help me out with the analysis. I'll knock out 2 games of instant analysis from the noon games Eastern time. And then, of course, there's a glut of games at 3:30. And so around 7 o'clock, 7:30, we'll do the same thing. And we'll repeat the pattern, the big primetime games. So at midnight, and then I'll catch up with the West Coast games. And sometimes, many times, you guys will see me on here at 2:30 in the morning Eastern time on Saturday night, Sunday morning, knocking out the Pac-12 and presenting our instant analysis on the Pac-12 games late at night. So that's what we've got for you in store for this football season. I just released, those of you who have your notifications on, I just released my first prediction video, week 1. I just looked at the Thursday and Friday games. Of course, Central Florida, Connecticut tonight. We've got Northwestern, Purdue. Friday night, Michigan State hosts Utah State. Wisconsin's got Western Kentucky. And a very intriguing matchup with San Diego State, having defeated Stanford last year, going to Stanford on Friday night. We've got the predictions released on those games. All right, prediction record. I've told you guys that I would release my prediction record, although it's there for you guys to find. All the videos are released from the weekly predictions, 2017, 16, 15, 14, 13, and 12, I believe. So the prediction record is there, but here we go. Last season, in 273 college football games, so I predict all the top 25 games, plus select those games that are of relevance or interest to me and you. So, for example, this week, Northwestern and Purdue, neither team is ranked in the top 25, but it's the primetime ESPN game to launch the season. And a couple teams that reached postseason play last year. Northwestern won 10 games and has been ranked in the top 25 most of the time over the past few seasons, and has won 10 games, again, 2 of the past 3 seasons. So that's a game of interest. So I added that, Northwestern, Purdue. So I pick all the top 25 games, plus those games that interest me and you. And I pick all those games. That was 273 regular season college football games last year. I hit on 219. I missed on 54. 219 correct, 54 wrong, straight up money line. That is 80.2%. That's typically what I do. That's probably on the low range. I have hit as high as 83, 84% straight up. But I can almost guarantee 80%. I think there's a few years there that I've dipped just under 80% at 78, 79%. But I'm pretty consistent at 80 to 82% straight up. All right. Against the spread, 155 right, 114 wrong. So how does that hit you? So I hear from the people that know, from the people that really know what they're doing, that 155 and 114, so that's 57.6%, that if you hit close to 53% in Vegas against the spread, that you start to make money at 53%, 52.5% in that range. And I explained this in the video, maybe not very well. I'm not a handicapper, odds maker. I just make predictions just because it's fun. 155 and 114, that's 57.6%. There are seasons I've done better. There are seasons certainly I've done worse. I hope to do 60%. That's the goal. That's the ultimate goal, to hit 60% against the spread. And if I was picking and choosing games, like for a few years I did confidence picks, and I was around 65 to 66% on confidence picks, and maybe I'll do confidence picks this year, then I can almost guarantee that I'm going to do better than 60% if I'm just plucking a game or 2, maybe 3 per week. But if I'm picking all the games, which I do, against the spread, then it's difficult to hit 60%. 60% is crazy good. 57.6, I'm pretty satisfied with that from last season, but it didn't hit the 60% goal of excellence. All right. I'll see what you guys have on the live chat, and then I'm going to address viewer mail. And don't forget the weekly newsletter. Send me your email at MarkRogersTV@gmail. MarkRogersTV@gmail. You send me your email address, and I will send out the weekly newsletter to you starting on Monday, September 3rd. And this is the long pause while I wait for the live chat. All right. Colton, Navy Thomas on the line. George on the line. Navy Thomas, strength of schedule, ESPN Power Index. Looking at the Big Ten, we've got Michigan 4, Purdue 5, Northwestern 7, Maryland at 16, Michigan State 22, Penn State 31. The Huskers of Nebraska at 35, Indiana 39, 46 is Ohio State, 47 Iowa, 53 Illinois, 62 is Minnesota, and 64 is Wisconsin. That is very, very close to mine. I don't have the rankings in front of me, but I released my schedule rankings and analysis earlier, and that's very close to what I've got. I've got Michigan at number 2. So ESPN's Power Index has them at number 4. I've got Purdue. I forget where I've got them, 7 or 8, something in that range. They're at number 5 here. Northwestern, I've got them in the top 15. They're at number 7. Yeah, they're right in step with me. I used my own judgment and basically just ranked the schedules within the conference and then expanded that to nationally and ranked them 68 all the way up to number 1. But it's good to know that ESPN and I are pretty much in sync with our rankings. I did not use anybody else's rankings to rank the schedules. I just went by my judgment of how good the teams are. And you can go through a process of elimination is what you do. Is if you're comparing Nebraska and Iowa's schedule, well, 6 or 7 of the games are exactly the same. And then you can go from there and you can look at the other 5 games and say, okay, Nebraska's got to play X, Y, and Z, and Iowa's got to play X, Y, and Z. There you go. And who's got the tougher schedule, and then you slot them, and then you continue the comparison on through the league, and then you expand that out to the nation. All right, boys, let's see what we got here. Sorry about you losing your quarterback to Oregon State. That sucks. The backup left, Gebbia. Tristan Gebbia looking for some playing time, and he heads out to Oregon State. And, of course, Mike Riley's got that connection. He knows, and I'm sure that conversation was had. Mike Riley overrated. Look at this Oregon State talk. This is going to be the biggest play for Oregon State football that we're going to have on the live chat the entire season. Colton likes Northwestern over Purdue 31-28. I've got my predictions out. You guys probably saw the notification right before you jumped on here. If the notifications drive you guys crazy, turn them off. Just shut them down and then just check in once or twice a day to see what I've released. George depends on the notifications from YouTube. Otherwise, I wouldn't know. I can't keep track of things. Too much going on. I hear you, brother. Too much going on. Okay. William keeps forgetting that Northwestern won 10 games last season. William, you must not be listening to me. I think every time I talk about Northwestern, I reference the 10 wins twice in the last 3 years. And they even won a bowl game the time that they didn't win 10 games when they beat Pitt in the Pinstripe Bowl. Northwestern's, they've been playing good football. Pat Fitzgerald, even despite this nice run that he's had recently, I looked up the record. I would have thought that he was better than 18 games over 500 overall and 48-50 in the Big Ten. He's 2 games under 500 in the Big Ten, and that's coming off 7-2 last year. I think 4-5 the year before, and I believe either 6-3 or 7-2 the year before that. So he's had a nice run, but overall 48-50 in the Big Ten. That is the big concern, George, for the Big Ten, is that they're going to take each other out. Penn State's going to beat Ohio State. Ohio State beats Michigan State. Michigan beats Michigan State, on and on and on. They beat each other, and they also have to deal with upsets that could happen, like Iowa beats Ohio State last year. And they have to deal with Nebraska and Wisconsin taking on 2 of the big teams in the Big Ten East. But both of those are at home for the Big Ten Eastern Division teams. Michigan hosting Wisconsin, Penn State hosting Wisconsin. But man, if they beat up on each other, those four teams, you can look at a lot of two-loss teams in the Big Ten, and it may not bode well unless they get chaos elsewhere and they can point to the strength of the league if they win the non-conference games. That's why Michigan, Notre Dame's crucial. Ohio State, TCU's important. Wisconsin's got nobody. Penn State really doesn't have anyone. They can't lose to Pitt. Michigan State takes on Arizona State. So there's few marquee games in the Big Ten outside the conference to point to. Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, TCU. It would help if the likes of Iowa beat Iowa State, then Iowa State turns around and has a good year in the Big 12. If Maryland could somehow miraculously upset Texas again, don't expect that to happen, but if they play them close, Northwestern takes on Notre Dame, Northwestern takes on Duke. Those are possible games in which the Big Ten can show itself. Colton. Wisconsin is the only Big Ten team with a playoff chance. Number one ND fan has Northwestern below 500. My Northwestern video prediction is out 6-6, 4-5. All right, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Thanks for jumping on the live stream today. I am going to address some viewer comments, and you guys continue to talk amongst yourselves. Also want to let you know, if you like the audio, Podbean, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, it's right there for you. And the weekly newsletter as well. Just send your email address to MarkRogersTV@gmail.com. I will only send you one email per week, weekly newsletter on Monday. I will not clog up and clutter your inbox. All right. So I had a number of angry Arkansas fans on me for predicting. How dare I predict Arkansas to go 4-8 after they went 4-8 last year and play in the SEC West? So I predicted the Hawks to go 1-7 in the SEC, to go 4-8 overall. That means they get tripped up out of conference, most likely by Colorado State. No, you know what? I actually believe I predicted Arkansas to go 5-7 after going 4-8 last year. And I just have a number of people who are just unhappy about that. All right. Just a few people. I shouldn't say that there are droves of them. We've got Mac Daddy 0149 who says 8-4, just wait and see. That's for Arkansas. 8-4, just wait and see. And I have no issue with that. That's why I'm asking for the predictions from everyone in the comments section on all the prediction videos. Leave your prediction. If he would have said Arkansas is going to go 12-0, I would have just thought this is a delusional Arkansas fan. That's great. He loves his team. He is hoping for the best. He's optimistic. He's got his hog glasses on, and he says 12-0. So he's saying 8-4. That's a little bit more reasonable. And especially against that non-conference schedule in which they play no one, Colorado State, Tulsa, North Texas. So maybe they do go 8-4, because that would be a 4-4 SEC record and winning all the non-conference games against group of 5 teams. So I didn't have so much of an issue with that. But if you make especially some outlandish prediction and guarantee it and give me a just wait and see, I just want to hear from Mac Daddy 0149 in December at the end of the regular season when Arkansas goes 5-7, that he says I was wrong at 8-4. Or come back and say Arkansas went 9-3. I told you that they were underrated. I told you that they were going to shock the world. Fine. Just be there to follow up on the prediction, because I've got to be here to follow up on my prediction. Carlos has Virginia Tech at 12-0. All right. Michael Pierce tells me, apparently you don't know football. And this is in response to the Arkansas video. So I have no idea what he's talking about. Maybe I don't know anything about football, but I don't know what he's talking about. So I asked him to explain. He has yet to get back to me. That comment was only made 2 hours ago. So maybe Michael Pierce, I hope that you're watching this video. I'm guessing you're an Arkansas fan responding to the Arkansas video that apparently I don't know anything about football. Please explain. All right. So Adam Rhodey would most likely be the pronunciation of his last name. If I botched that, I apologize, Adam. So he's talking about my Wisconsin video, my preview and prediction video for the Badgers. Dude straight up butchered some of those names. So it is not my intent to butcher names. Obviously, I do not want to butcher names. If I had a staff, if I had more time, if I was only going to do like 2 videos a week, I would go through pronunciation guides if I could find them, or I would look up game tape and I would make sure I've got every questionable name pronounced correctly. There's something that needs to be understood here. This is okay. I'm one guy, and you guys may have some idea, maybe you don't, of how many people work on production events and shows, studio shows for major networks and even online networks that you see a number of places that have 15 and 20 people. We have James Yoder on a regular basis from Chat Sports. They have 12 or 15 people working for them. So I cannot verify the pronunciation on everybody. And if you truly believe that every college football analyst that you see out there knows everybody that they're talking about, then you are clueless to the way this works. You are clueless to the way this works. The only way that they do truly know, if they're talking about offensive linemen and they're talking about linebackers who didn't play last year, who are expected to play this year, who made 8 tackles last year, they have never heard of these people. I guarantee you. The analysts that you see on all the big shows and on Saturday, if they're preparing for one game, they are a in the booth announcer analyst. Of course, they are locked in on that particular teams for that week, and they learn the personnel. I hope they know the major players, the 3 or 4 on offense and defense for that particular team, even before, as being college football analysts, as we all do. Throw a team out, and who do I know from that team? Well, if you're talking about Oklahoma and Wisconsin and Clemson and Miami and all those teams, then I know who the quarterback is, who the top 2 or 3 running backs are, who the top 2, 3, 4 wide receivers are. I know a couple offensive linemen. I know a couple impact players on each level of the defense. I probably know at least 7 to 10 defenders. I know the core of the team and not just the stars. So what you get online is basically most people make predictions and they just run through the schedule and they mention that Jonathan Taylor plays for Wisconsin and Alex Hornibrook and Danny Davis. And they name 3 guys. In the videos that I produced, I named 25 or 30 players per team. I was trying to give you in-depth depth chart, personnel breakdown analysis of each team. So I leave myself wide open to a few things. Number one, I leave myself wide open to transfers. And yes, I double checked and did searches and Google searches, and I didn't catch every transfer. So I missed probably, in doing what's going to be 68 teams, maybe I missed 15 to 20 transfers, one every 3 or 4 teams, maybe not even that many. So I missed a few transfers. That's going to happen. Read online, watch the analysts, and watch the shows on TV and online. And if you want to track misinformation, I will be right there with you. There's misinformation all over the place. So I miss a few grad transfers. Okay. And that's not going to change, or there's going to be less content. The other thing is that because I do the diligence of checking on those, but I don't catch it necessarily, especially if it just happened. All right. And then, yes, there was a transfer. One of the cornerbacks for Wisconsin took leave. Adam took exception to me not I listed and named the cornerback for Wisconsin, Carrier Williams. He left the team. Okay, I missed him. I said he was on the team. He left the team. Okay, that's going to happen. All right. One of the offensive linemen, Bo Ben Showell. Yes, I knew that I didn't pronounce his name correctly. I know who he is. He's an All-American. Great. I butchered his name. My apologies. So, butchering a couple names that aren't common names or in the college football discussion on a regular basis is going to happen. It happens all the time. I try not to let it happen. That's just the way it is. My apologies. I don't want to butcher anyone's name for that person in particular and for College Football Nation. I want to be 100% accurate. How about 5 nines? 0.99999. Accurate. We'll shoot for that. And I will do better in the future. But I'm going to miss some information here and there. To take a little slice of like 0.01% of misinformation and then to extract the comment that you don't know what you're talking about. That's hilarious. Therefore, your criteria would be you don't listen or watch anyone because you find me the person that is 100% correct in their information. Believe me, they don't exist. All right. I've worked in the business for over 25 years. Believe me, they don't exist. All right. Brant, after watching my Arkansas video, says, I would be shocked if Mark ever watched a Razorback game. Bielema took over a mess, ? Petrino had... I've got to clean up the typos as I speak. Anyway, Petrino had us as high as number 3 and was ranked before his departure. John L. Smith was interim coach for 1 year and had a better record than Bielema did his first season. Bielema also went to consecutive Rose Bowls by default. Penn State and Ohio State were ineligible. Clean up the traffic outside. All right. So this person, they might be an Arkansas fan. I kind of assume they're an Arkansas fan. There's not too many people out there consuming Arkansas videos at this point in their lack of relevancy that would be commenting on Arkansas football. Bobby Petrino did leave a mess. Do we all not remember the incident? Okay, I'm not talking about the roster. The personnel was a complete mess. He left some talent on the roster. He also left a team that was 4-8 in the transition year to Brett Bielema. They went 4-8 in 2012. Brett Bielema went 3-9 based on the talent that he failed to inherit and a system, a structure, a process that was broken, a transition that was difficult. That's what I'm talking about when I say a mess. Brett Bielema had to take over a mess at Arkansas. That doesn't mean he had zero talent. Luke Fickell had to recover from what was a bit of a mess at Ohio State. That doesn't mean he didn't have scads of talent on the roster, but it was still obviously difficult because a roster that was 12-1 in 2010 at Ohio State, then went 12-0 in 2012, went 6-7 the year in between. So it was difficult based on the situation and not having the coaching acumen and skill and experience of a Jim Tressel or Urban Meyer. Therefore, a 12-1 roster, 12-0 roster produced 6-7 in between. That's what I'm talking about when I say Brett Bielema inherited a mess. Yes, I understand they were ranked number 3 in the country 2 years before. That was 2 years before. That's an eternity in college football, turning over a roster. And yes, Wisconsin did not go to 3 Rose Bowls by default. They went to 1 Rose Bowl by default. The other 2 Rose Bowls, they had the best record in the Big Ten. They beat the best teams in the Big Ten. In 2010, Wisconsin was 11-1. They tied Michigan State. They beat Michigan State head-to-head. They beat Ohio State. They went to the Rose Bowl. Is that by default? 11-1. You beat the two best teams in the league. You went to the Rose Bowl by default. Oh, they lost to Michigan State. They beat Ohio State. They won the three-way tiebreaker. 11-1. You beat Ohio State, who was consensus number one at the time. So Wisconsin went to the Rose Bowl by default. Brant, am I really wasting my time responding to your accusation that I don't know what I'm talking about and that I've never watched a Razorback game in my life? Seriously, when Arkansas is any good, I watch 5 or 6 games. Arkansas last year, they were horrible. What did I watch? I would have to go through the schedule to remember exactly what I watched of Arkansas last year. It wasn't a heck of a whole lot. Was last year the year they lost to TCU? They played TCU back-to-back years. I would have caught some of that game. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU, Alabama, probably caught some of that. Yeah, I'm not going to go through it right now. But, yeah. Penn State and Ohio State were ineligible. Ohio State was ineligible one season, 2012. And, yes, Wisconsin backed into the Rose Bowl that one season. To a certain extent, they did have to win a Big Ten championship game, and they only scored 70 points to earn a trip to the Rose Bowl. So, yes, they did not have the record to go to the Big Ten championship game, but there was one team that was ineligible. Yes, Penn State was ineligible, but they were 7-5. 8-4, 7-5. So Wisconsin did not back into 3 consecutive Rose Bowls by default. So Brett Bielema did do a good job at Wisconsin. Look at the record. Look at the standings. Look at the AP poll position at the end of the season. Look at the Big Ten championships. Brett Bielema did a hell of a job at Wisconsin. He was set up well by Barry Alvarez, certainly, but he left it in a great place for Gary Anderson to then go on after he won a Big Ten championship game and coach from there. This is just an ignorant comment that I didn't realize was this ignorant until I actually started to address it. Yeah, I've not watched any Arkansas football in my life. I would guess that I probably watched more Arkansas football than you have, unless you've got a few years on you. Brant, I don't know you. I hope you keep watching and you find some value in the channel. If you don't, that's fine. Go watch somebody else. Either way. All right, we've got Sean, and I have not looked at this comment, so this is not the reason that I struck this up, but it just came down a few minutes ago. Sean on Arkansas football. I'm going to go 6-6, and either they lose one of the gimme games, Colorado State or North Texas, and I say they beat Vandy and Ole Miss, lose to Missouri thanks to good defense and their quarterback. They upset another team they should probably lose to, and I think that team will be Texas A&M simply because I think Fisher is overrated and College Station is cursed like Texas is because boosters there douche nozzles. Go Hogs. 6-6 for the Hogs, 3-5 according to Sean Norris. Okay. Let's see if there's any other interesting comments to knock out. Matthew Bandusky, who responds to these videos on a regular basis, is right in step with me on Virginia, which I had at 5-7, 2-6 in the ACC, and he goes on to explain why. And you guys don't want to hear me address people that actually agree with me. It's not fun. Tyler Campbell has Virginia Tech at 9-3, possibly 10-2, and the Hokies defeat Florida State 27-24. Okay. Trenton Dickey commented twice on Arkansas videos. So, Trenton, welcome to Mark Rogers TV. Let's see what we've got here. People need to watch Arkansas this season. I think Arkansas is being underrated. They have talent, and they have enough to make a decent dent. Don't get me wrong. They're going to beat the teams Don't get me wrong, they are going to beat the teams, but they very well could prove the numbers wrong. I have no idea what that means, but he thinks they're going to be better than expected. All right. Buckeye State Sports has Northwestern at 5-7, 3-6 in the Big Ten. Dano, Stephen Smith, you're an idiot. You're completely lost your mind. He's responding to Stephen M. Smith's comments on Jalen Hurts versus Tua Tagovailoa, which I don't know what he's referring to. Can't respond to something when it's a vague comment. All right. He does then. Okay. He follows up. I'll give him credit. Go back and watch the last 2 years of Bama games. Jalen is a terrible quarterback. Bama didn't win because of him. Jalen will start because he's a real quarterback. Jalen will start because he is a real quarterback. Jalen should consider a new position. Tua has proven himself. Whoever thinks Tua shouldn't start is an idiot. Jordan Davis, LSU will have a nasty defense this year. If the offense can do anything close to what it did in the interim, then it might be a special season. Special season for LSU. So Jordan Davis says 10-2 because I'm a homer, 8-4 because I have a brain. Probably will finish 9-3. Jordan, don't understand what that means, but okay. You're picking them to go 10-2, 9-3, or 8-4. I'm trying to find those comments that are blasting me so I can address those. Coconut Cane, I'm going to pat myself on the back as well. Thank you very much. Your passion and work ethic toward covering college football is one of the most impressive things I've seen. I really hope the right person recognizes this one day. Thank you so much, Coconut Cane. If you're watching or will watch this video when it posts, thank you. I appreciate it. NCIS Fanatic 21 has Wisconsin losing to Michigan and Penn State going 10-2. Elliot Sanford, in response to my discussion with Peter Burns from the SEC Network. Interesting. I believe these are compliments. He says, got it. Send me some YouTube gold. Mark Rogers TV the previous week is under review. Elliot, please respond. Let me know what you're talking about. I think you've got some smart things to say. I'm just trying to weed through between the lines. Or what you said at the end, the college football review for the smart fan. Okay, I got you. You're giving me newsletter recommendations for names of the weekly newsletter. Thank you, Elliot. I appreciate that. I didn't catch that because if you scroll through the comments, they're out of order. The college football review for the smart fan. All right, Elliot, I'm going to take those into account. You've got 2 suggestions there. I like both of them. I wish they were shorter. I want something that it just punches, bam. But those are great. They're a lot better than what I've come up with, which is nothing. So I'm not good at coming up with names. Mark Rogers, just put TV at the end. That's what I came up with. I think I've explained in the past. I didn't know what I was going to talk about all the time. I'm a baseball fan. Can't really keep up with the game anymore because I'm doing this all the time, but I love baseball. I'm an NFL fan. I may know more about NFL history than I do college football history, and people think I'm a college football junkie and nut and historian. The people that know me, not necessarily you guys, but people that talk to me on a regular basis, people at work. But NFL history, now I've slacked off there in recent years because, again, I'm doing this. But I love watching the NFL. I don't take in the stats and the rosters and read up on it all week, but I love to sit on Sunday afternoon and just take in the red zone. I didn't think I would like the red zone when it first came out, and people told me, you've got to watch the red zone. And I said, I don't want to see play to play, switching games constantly because I'm not going to have any context of who's playing well and who's doing what and what the situation is and what coaching mistakes were made. Which is true, but I do love the red zone because I like to keep up with everybody at the same time. And believe me, if I had 2 of me, I would do an NFL channel. I would do Mark Rogers TV NFL if I had two of me, because I do love the NFL. And maybe we should just have an NFL discussion once a week, once a month. But I don't have enough time to do to do this. Elliot Sanford, thank you so much for the two suggestions on the newsletter name. Buckeye State Sports, 9-3, 6-3 for the Hawkeyes. I believe that's what I have as well for Iowa, 9-3, 6-3. Ricky would be happy with that. Holiday Bowl, which has been owned by the Big Ten the last 2 years, with Michigan State throttling Washington State and Minnesota beating Washington State. We've got Elliot gives us more suggestions. Mark Rogers TV College Football Weekly, College Football Roundup, College Football Report, College Football Update, College Football Digest, College Football Vlog. Okay, those are all pretty standard. I'm thinking something a little with it's got a little wink in the eye, kind of like highbrow, like we're the best. We're the best. We don't want to state it that way, but this is for the hardcore, for the smart fan. We'll find it. I've got a buddy who, when I first launched this channel, and I was actually working with ESPN on a few things that I can't go into details about here, but in terms of working for ESPN Digital, this was a number of years ago, in which I did as a freelancer, in addition to my regular job there. But I did freelance content for ESPN on the digital side. This was about 7 or 8 years ago. I voiced highlights and did anchor stand-ups to lead into the highlights. But they were going to give me a commentary, and I've got a buddy who suggested I call it the Rogers, I believe it was the Rogers Paradigm. It was something paradigm. It was better than that, but I thought it was pretty funny. But a little bit beyond a lot of people's capacity to take in what that would mean. A bit not vague, a little conceptual. All right, we got Navy Thomas and Ricky going back and forth on Iowa football. And yes, you guys know that I love the stats and the math, and I try to provide some of that on the previews and predictions. Hopefully you guys caught some of that, and that led to a discussion between Navy Thomas and Ricky talking about Kirk Ferentz's performance at Iowa, 143-97 career. It's a little bit less than I would have expected, considering it seems like he goes 8-5 every year, and then he's peaked out with a couple top 10 teams early in his tenure, and then in 2009 going to the Orange Bowl, winning the Orange Bowl, finishing in the top 10. So with some of those 11-2s, I would have thought that his winning percentage would be a little bit higher than 60%. Of course, he got off to a rough start at 1-10 in 1999. All right. Buckeye State Sports has Wisconsin at 11-1, 8-1 in the Big Ten. Chad Milligan, Alabama has like 3 Roquan Smiths in their linebacking core every single year. So he's taking a shot at my waxing poetic about Roquan Smith's absence at Georgia as a leader and great player. Roquan Smith was only 1 good year. That's what's so interesting about him. You didn't hear crap about him in 2016. Well, I did. I'm the voice of college football. Knew about Roquan Smith. Kentucky. We've got a Kentucky comment. The idiot terror. It's going to be great when they, meaning Kentucky, goes out and proves everyone wrong. 9+ wins for Kentucky. They do have Mississippi State and Texas A&M in the crossover. Louisville late in the season to close it out. 9+ wins for Kentucky. I've got them at 6-6, 3-5 in the SEC. Enrique Comas comments on the comparison between Miami and Clemson and then building up to elite status. I'm not going to go through the entire paragraph. You may want to check that out. That's on the last Miami video. Matthew Bandusky, who did a great job of commenting, I believe, on every video and giving his prediction and the reason behind it. Matthew, thank you for the support. Appreciate it. Thanks for the comments. I think Pitt will be a sneaky good team this year. The offense played much better with Kenny Pickett last season. The run game should be steady with Allison entering his senior season. I think the biggest move will be the front seven on defense, making a big leap forward. The line returns every major contributor, led by Dwayne Hendricks at end. Quentin Wergenis returns from injury to man the middle. I have the Panthers at 6-6. That's 4-4 in the ACC, with pulling a few upsets along the way. I have them beating Albany, Penn State, North Carolina, Syracuse, Virginia, and Wake Forest. All right. If you guys want to be entertained just by sheer argument, go to our SEC preview special from last night. I had Stephen M. Smith on, Mike LaValle from Last Word on College Football, and we knocked out 2 hours on the SEC. We had a few other guests come in to talk about their particular teams, Kentucky, Auburn, somebody else. The last 10 to 15 minutes of that video, it's the SEC season preview that was just posted last night. Mike and I argued about Alabama scheduling. I may cut that out and post it. I think I am. Right when I get done with this, I'm going to cut that out and post it. Even though I shouldn't even be doing this, because I've got to do Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, and Wisconsin. I did a Wisconsin preview. Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State previews. I may just sit here and do the live stream preview. So when I do the live stream, it just sends it out live, automatically posts. If I do a video like I did with the previews and predictions, I've got to shoot it, record it, edit it, post it. I may do live streams for the next couple hours after I got to enjoy this for a little while on Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Michigan State. They may just come live stream edition predictions on those four and the rest of the Big Ten, and then we'll get the college football playoff predictions out tomorrow night. So George, I hope you're watching right now. George brought up, and then I'll check the live chat to see if you can respond. George is on here most of the time. Very worthy. I've never heard from some of these people, and I really appreciate it. If you just enjoy watching and taking it in, but never want to comment, that's fine. That's great. If you really don't want to comment, at least give me a like. But every so often, and it's now happening about once a day, that somebody will comment and I'll think, man, I have no idea who this person is. I've never seen their name. They've never commented. And they will just say, keep up the great work. Love watching your videos. I've been watching a long time. And I'll think, man, you've never commented, but thank you. If you're just taking it in, that's tremendous. If you've got nothing, no complaints or ruckus to raise, that's fine. At least and with these prediction videos, I do appreciate if you guys would give me your predictions. I do think that's a fun give and take. All right. So it's Barry Worthy commenting to the interview with Charlie Strong. Congratulations, Mark. You're growing, buddy. Very great every time. So I appreciate that comment. You guys don't realize that you keep me going. Guys don't realize that this is fun. This is a labor of love, as they say, but it becomes a drag. It becomes a drag at 3 o'clock in the morning when I've worked all day, and then I come and do this for like 6 or 7 hours, and I see that 18 people watched a video, that it's a drag to continue to grind it out. And that's why I've got to be a little bit smarter about it, not just get on here and talk and post video after video after video. I should be a little bit more strategic about it. You guys need to know what's coming when, and that's why I released and posted the live stream schedule. So you guys are on board with that. So it's right there on the banner of the YouTube page if you're unaware, and I'm going to do my very best to keep with that. I should be able to, based on my work schedule currently, be able to adhere to that live stream schedule, which I pretty much did throughout the summer. I will let you know if I'm not able to make it. For example, tomorrow I'm moving my daughter into college, so I'm going to be gone all day. I should be here at night to watch the football games and provide instant analysis. Not that I do have a live stream commitment on Friday, but you can expect content from me on Friday. Airbrush Royale. That's the way you interview someone. Very classy, Mark. Thank you so much for the feedback on the Charlie Strong interview. You guys have maybe noticed over the last few days that I've released a few more videos from the American Conference Media Days. So I went there, I knocked out 29 interviews. I came back, I prioritized Mackenzie Milton and Ed Oliver and some of the coaches, and I released them. Then I actually forgot I had the rest of those. And I got caught up in the other media days and everything else going on. And I forgot that I only posted maybe 8 or 9 out of 29. And I really didn't want that work to go to waste. So you'll see I released 3 different Tulane players, what I'm going to do in the future over the next like day and a half before the season starts. UConn kicks off against Central Florida tonight. That's why I put the UConn players together in one video and released that. And whoever wants to watch it, if it's 7 people, I hope you enjoyed the UConn interviews. But I wanted to get what George said. Here we go. George, basically, it doesn't matter what video he responded to. I just think he was randomly responding to a particular video. But he sent me the link to his appearance on LouTube, on Uncle Lou's show, in which he called in Uncle Lou. And he says at about 37 minutes or something, Uncle Lou answers my phone call and picks 52 games for me. I didn't really listen to that part. But anyway, I thought it was an interesting interaction between Uncle Lou and George, talking about Uncle Lou's product, talking about me, talking about some others who do what we do. I in no way want to diss or down what anybody else does. I truly don't. Sometimes that may slip out slightly, like with these prediction videos, these previews I've done. I tried to provide a little bit more in-depth analysis. I went through 25 to 30 players, personnel breakdowns, and just didn't run through the games. And that's what some people do. And they do what they do. They do other things better than I do. We all do it differently. And I think Uncle Lou's tremendous. I truly do. I left a comment on his live chat that I should probably leave on one of his videos that he'll be able to catch, or just send it to him directly via email. That I sent him a comment. Just the guy's hilarious. He does a great job. He's serious when he wants to be serious, and when he's serious about, he will tell you when he doesn't know what he's talking about. I appreciate that. He'll say, I don't know much about that team. I've never seen that quarterback play. He'll mispronounce their names or call them a different name and say, I don't know. We'll find out if he's any good. So we'll let you know. I don't know everything. I know what I know. I'm a fan. I watch a lot. I'm a junkie. I read up on it. I try to deliver the best I can, but I'm not going to know about this or that. Hey, similarly, I don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. Nobody's got it completely buttoned down. I don't know who's playing left guard for Oregon State this week against Ohio State. I don't. It's probably in my notes, though. But back to George's comment. It was just a fun comment, and I enjoyed the interaction between he and Uncle Lou about what we see on YouTube right now. And as long as somebody doesn't misrepresent themselves, that's the only thing I don't like. I don't like somebody who's fake and phony and tries to be something that they're not. If you're a fan of a particular team and you just want to say, I'm a Kansas State fan, go Wildcats, that's all I care about, and they're going to go 12-0 and win every game by 50 points, that's great. I'm not going to really take a lot of things seriously that you have to say in analyzing Kansas State games in particular. I'll only make one more comment about Uncle Lou because I enjoy that he is right out there about being a Georgia fan, but then he also says and has intelligent commentary about other teams. So I think you can do both. Don't believe that analysts on television aren't fans of teams. Most of them played, and they still root for, and they still, regardless of what they want you to believe, they still root for and have loyalty and allegiance to their school. So they're rooting for them. That doesn't mean you can't be as unbiased as you possibly can be and try to be neutral. So I think a guy like Uncle Lou, and there's a number of them out there, but he's the guy that I've seen the most of that can say, on one hand, I'm a huge Georgia fan. I live and die, I breathe Georgia football, and I'm rooting for them against everybody, including my mom. But on the other hand, I can still, I'll get through it. I can still analyze college football somewhat objectively, and I can still look at other teams and games and give you my opinion, and it's still valid. I take a different approach. I'm an Ohio State fan. I don't talk about Ohio State as a fan. I believe that I've been unbiased and neutral again as much as I possibly can be. Let's all understand when somebody makes the comment that they're unbiased, they're neutral. That's the attempt. That's the approach. We're all flesh and blood. We're human. We have biases. I try to take my biases into account and say, okay, I need to take my bias into account. My bias is Ohio State, Big Ten. I need to move that over. I said for 10 years when the SEC was the best conference that the SEC is the best conference. I didn't allow my bias as a fan completely blind me to, oh, the Big Ten's the best conference. I did go against the national trend and the groupthink to say Alabama, LSU, whomever just won the national championship that particular year, that means the SEC is the best. And no, I took numbers and other games into consideration and matchups and brought some depth to the conversation to say, yes, the SEC is receiving a ton of love. They are considered the best conference this particular year and have been for a number of years. Let's balance the equation and look at the entirety of the landscape of the conference versus the other conferences. And I would point out where the SEC would fail. But I would say it's still the best conference, but that's not the end of the discussion. Let's look at it. And I don't believe they're as far removed as the best conference as other people do in the national groupthink. And so, for example, as an Ohio State fan 2 years ago, I know I got blasted last year because I said they have earned a playoff spot. And I even took it to another degree to say, actually, USC and Ohio State earned playoff spots, but because we've got this idiotic system with 4 slots for 5 conferences, we've got to differentiate between USC and Ohio State as 2-loss champions. Therefore, Ohio State has the much better resume, put them in the playoff. And of course, I got bashed when people especially found out that I'm an Ohio State fan. I got bashed, and they didn't. A number of you did, and I give you tons of credit for understanding my argument that I didn't say Ohio State was better than Alabama. I said Ohio State earned it. Alabama did not. I then went on and said that Alabama is going to win the national championship. They're going to beat Clemson, and I picked them to beat Georgia. So I picked Alabama to be the best team and win the national championship. I don't believe that they earned it. But getting back to my explanation of how I handle my natural bias that we all have. So if you want to watch somebody who's unbiased, sorry, you can't watch anybody, because we all have internal biases that I tried my best to steer away from that and to fight it and to be critical. Actually, for 2 or 3 years, probably before any of you watched, for 2 or 3 years when like crickets were watching and to a certain extent still are, but really when crickets, I probably had 200 subscribers. I actually had, and this made me feel good, that I had tons of Ohio State fans, relatively speaking, tons of Ohio State fans telling me, you hate Ohio State. You're bashing them. They played better this week than you said. They should be ranked number 2. You've got them number 8, whatever. That actually, it made me feel good as an Ohio State fan that I had Buckeyes fans bashing me for being anti-Ohio State and Ohio State hater. Now, that all changed last year because I thought the Buckeyes should have made the playoffs because they earned it. That could have been any other team in the world in the Power Five. And if it wasn't Ohio State, it would have been Wisconsin or Penn State or whomever, because the year before, for those of you who are watching, and if you don't believe me, like somebody didn't a few weeks ago, and I had to find, it took me like 5 minutes to find the video and find the link, when I campaigned for Penn State to be put into the playoffs ahead of Ohio State. And that was minutes after the Big Ten championship game in which Penn State beat Wisconsin. And I said, Penn State won the Big Ten championship. They beat Ohio State head to head. They should be in the national playoff, even though Ohio State, I believe, is a better team. And I believe Ohio State had a better track record resume. They didn't get blown out by teams like Penn State did. They beat Oklahoma on the road. Even though I think Ohio State's got a better track record resume and they're the better team, Penn State earned the trip to the playoff. But people forget that I campaigned for Penn State against Ohio State the year before. It's probably a good time to check out the live chat to see what you guys have. And George brought up some good things last night about my content. And this was in the midst of either the SEC or the Pac-12 shows when not many people were watching. And I appreciated George, as he has many times, giving me some sort of recommendation on how I should approach this to bring in a bigger following. So I appreciate that. I'm always going to talk about everyone. I might be more effective if I would zero in on a conference or a team. People have told me time and time again that if I did nothing but shoot Ohio State videos, Alonzo1219 tells me this, that if I focused on Ohio State football solely, that I would be the #1 Ohio State podcaster. That would be awesome, but I would be bored out of my mind talking about Ohio State and nothing else every day, talking about, the left guard position still up for grabs. That would drive me nuts. All right. So the standard is to cover everyone in the Power Five. I do love the group of five. I will watch the first hour of UConn Central Florida tonight before I switch to Northwestern Purdue. I do like group of five football. I love watching Houston play. Boise State, I'll see them several times this year. So my Thursday and Friday nights are filled up with a lot of group of five football. I just don't have the capacity and the time and the resources to talk about the group of five. And obviously it's not as popular or important or as good. So I pick and choose there. But if this is going to be a Power Five channel first and foremost, maybe someday when I've got more help, it will expand out, or maybe we'll do sub channels as maybe some of you have discovered. I do have a MarkRogersTV USC channel, Ohio State channel, Miami channel, SEC channel. That was the beginning of a plan to kind of take that SB Nation model and do subdivisions, sub channels, and speak to those particular fan bases. And I've got 400 subscribers on the Miami channel, and I just take everything that I do Miami based here, and I just process and post it to the Miami channel. So it's right there. Buckeye State Sports, 1 year it's about conference championships, the 13th data point, and then it's about quality wins, then it's about who doesn't get blown out. Buckeye State Sports, I want you to answer me in the live chat, and I'll try to find it. Were you watching me at this time? Were you watching me during playoff time last year, from the time that the conference championship games were played and then the playoff selections were made? I hope you were watching me at that point, but I don't think you were. I think you picked me up sometime in the off season, because I was on a rampage from the time even before the conference championship games were played, because I could see what was coming. I went on a rampage for weeks, to the point where people were like, Mark, give it up. Stop it. We get it. Even people that agreed with me were like, stop it. The consistency doesn't exist in the college football playoff selection committee's approach. And I respect them for the job and the challenge that they have. Fitting 5 conferences into 4 slots is, of course, impossible. So they have to make a distinction there. And then once you start to put into play excellent teams as a second team from a conference or Notre Dame, then it becomes even more difficult. So they've got a difficult job to do. And I think they've done their due diligence throughout this. They are trying to select the 4 best teams. My argument is that we don't know who the 4 best teams are. And if they knew who the 4 best teams are, they would rank the best team number 1. They have yet to get that straight. So think about this. If they are truly selecting the 4 best teams, then they would know, if they're accurate in their assessment of the 4 best teams, then they would be able to rank them 1 through 4, correct? They haven't been able to do that. They have yet to get a number 1 seed that won the national championship. Ohio State was a 4 seed. They won the national championship. 2015, Bama was the 2 seed. Clemson was the undefeated number 1 seed. Bama won the national championship. 2016, it was reversed. Bama was the 1 seed. Clemson was the 2 seed. Clemson won the national championship. Last year, Bama was the 4 seed. If Bama was truly the best team and they knew that, they should have ranked them at number 1. If they are selecting the 4 best teams, then rank them 1 through 4. But you know what? They don't do that because they don't know who the 4 best teams are. That's a farce. When is this wrapping up? Clemson alum 98. I have no idea when it's wrapping up. I need to be producing Michigan State, Ohio State, and Penn State videos, not even to take into account Nebraska. Sorry, Navy Thomas. No Nebraska prediction video yet. Maybe I'll just talk so much Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, Nebraska, little Maryland, little Rutgers. Just enough to... in the time that I have here, and then especially during our big 2-hour pregame, 10 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday, that you guys will take that as my predictions. I will be releasing my entirety of the predictions. You've got the Pac-12, the Big 12, the ACC, and the SEC in hand. All right. Colton, thank you. I hold back my bias well. I try. Navy Thomas is biased. And I think that's great. If somebody's biased and they just at least state it. I just want people to state what they are, who they are, what they're trying to do. Yes, the offensive line is important. All right. Is there anything else on here that you guys are talking about? I figured I missed a lot of really good talk while I was ranting and rambling. Clemson alum 98. I hope you're still on the line. If anybody talks offensive lines, it's this guy right here. Look at these prediction videos. I talk offensive line. We had a Pac-12 preview show on for 2+ hours last night, and I repeatedly would jump in to say, they lost 4 starters along the offensive line. This is who they are. Bam, 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 bam. This is why we need to take this into account. There is no better predictor of, it's a small predictor, but it's one of the first ones in line, predictor of a team's success year to year than their cohesion, their recruiting, and their development at the offensive line position. I'm a firm believer of offensive line play. That's why I hate fantasy football. I don't play fantasy football. I don't have a principle against it. I just don't have time to play it. I played baseball for years. I don't do that anymore. And somebody suggested we have a college football fantasy league. That's something that I'm going to have to try to plan for earlier. Would you guys, I need to get your response, and maybe I'll do that in the newsletter. Maybe in addition to the newsletter, I'll have a question each week in the newsletter. So, for example, would you play a MarkRogersTV college football fantasy league? Question in the newsletter each week. A response question. There we go. All right. You guys were talking some LouTube while I was. Very nice. Yeah, I'm a big fan, big supporter. Think he does a great job. I have not called into LouTube. No, I have not. Lou was on here. Did you guys catch that? We had Lou on. I thought it was a great conversation. We had a good time. Lou said we should do it before the football season that I mentioned on his live chat, but I don't expect him to catch that. It's like flying by. I will have to reach out to him to get him back on. I am good, NCIS Fanatic 21. As you can tell, I was a bit disturbed. That's the wrong word. Irritated, agitated, aggravated, annoyed by some comments that I received about not knowing anything about college football. And I rarely, never, almost never let comments get to me. But I had worked hard on the previews and predictions. I knew that there was a little bit of a teeny slice of misinformation there because I missed some graduate transfers. But to have people pile on me when I'm naming 25 and 30 players per team, when I don't see anybody else doing that, going that in depth on every team, I just couldn't take it. So typically when I get people that, so I love the argument. I love the debate. If you don't agree with me, I love it. You guys know that. Send your comments in, raise a concern, challenge me on a point that I made. That's part of the game. I love that. But when you just throw out, you're an idiot, you don't know anything, I typically respond with those. Thanks for your support. Thanks for supporting the channel, whatever I write. Or sometimes I get a bit sarcastic and I have some fun with them. I bow to their college football excellence of knowledge. But I just couldn't take it today. So that's why this exists. That's why we're doing this in place of me doing Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State videos. Dennis, I love you, Dennis. You're on here all the time. I love the comments. Thank you for your support. If I'm reading this correctly, and maybe I'm wrong, you are making the comment that you, meaning Miami, run college football? Is that what I'm reading? Emmanuel, we got him on here. Very few college football programs can compare to USC success in winning, recruiting, and NFL player success. Mark, you're great. Don't worry about the haters. Well, I appreciate that. And I don't, because everybody's got them. You can watch the most excellent college football analysts, which we should do that in the off season. When I say I, and then I go to we, because I want to hear from you guys too. The best college football analysts, that's an off-season conversation. I don't want to get that started right now, but Joel Klatt comes to mind, David Pollack come to mind in particular, but I would rank them. I would rate them and talk about them. I couldn't be concerning a particular network. I couldn't be critical of their talent because it's unfortunately in the contract. For as much as I would love to give you my full disclosure and full opinion on everybody out there and all the content, that could be a whole other subject matter if I was free to comment on everything that's in the college football media. Whoo! Then I could really let loose. But we could talk about best analysts. So yeah, you got to deal with the haters, or you have to ignore the haters. So that's a great point. That's what I was getting to, because even the best analysts, whoever they are, everybody gets criticized, and some of it's warranted, and some of it's not. I think when you make predictions, you shouldn't just blast everybody for missing predictions, because nobody's going to get all the predictions right. But if somebody is supposed to be a college football expert and their prediction record sucks, maybe they're not a predictor guy. Maybe they're not a odds maker, kind of good at predictions, even though they know a ton. They miss the predictions, but maybe they're forced by their employer to make predictions, but they should be held accountable for the predictions. So if person blank, Kirk Herbstreit, whoever it is, makes predictions and somebody kept track of that, which they should put the records on the screen like I do. It's out there. I don't think too many of you were on the line at the time that I mentioned my prediction video was just released for week 1, Thursday and Friday games. Last year, 219 right, 54 wrong. That's 80.2%. That's straight up money line. That includes all the easy games. That's all the top 25 games, plus the relevant games outside the top 25, i.e., Northwestern Purdue tonight. Against the spread, 155 right, 114 wrong. That's 57.6%. So I think everybody that makes predictions, we should see a prediction record there so we can say, oh, this guy's supposed to be a college football expert, and they're picking 55% right and 48% against the spread. We should know that. It should be there. All right, Joel Klatt. Yeah, I'm a big Joel Klatt fan. I do like Joel Klatt. You're right, NCIS Fanatic 21. I like Joel Klatt. Vern Lundquist. You've made that suggestion before, NCIS Fanatic 21. 28, 80, 28. Predictions are more likely to get blasted depending on the way it's done. To say I like OU to win over FAU is one thing. To say OU should maul FAU with no issue is another, especially when wrong. Mark, I've told you to bring on Uncle Lou and 2 Live Crew. Coconut Cane. I had Lou on maybe 6 weeks ago. Check out the video. Just look up Uncle Lou in my channel search. You should be able to find it. So I had Uncle Lou on. We're both busy. I would love to have him on occasionally. Colton likes Clemson, Georgia, Washington, Wisconsin. Clemson over Washington. All right, guys. I think I got that off my chest. I think we're in good shape. So Elliot has 2 great suggestions for the newsletter name that's coming out on Monday. If you have yet to subscribe, please send me your email at MarkRogersTV@gmail.com. We're also going to include a question. So I've got a format for this newsletter. And if you have suggestions about how it can be better, certainly send those my way. But for right now, it's going to be my take, my perspective on the college football weekend every Monday, followed by stats, trends, facts, numbers that you won't see anywhere else. Not that there's going to be everything there and then you're not going to be able to pick something out and say, yeah, I saw that on ESPN this weekend. But in a collection, you're not going to see this collection of stats and trends and facts anywhere else. And then a channel update to give you an idea of where we are, where we're headed, what we're doing, what we're working on, what we would like to do, what we envision. And then also I've added now a question for the week. And that question, I believe, for the first week is going to be what was mentioned back there. That was an excellent question that I will have to dig up. I'm going to run through these because you guys had a lot of good things to say. Suggestions on who I should have on. Colton, you need to do an hour and a half show with Lee Corso. Lee would be a bit difficult to keep on the rails at this point in time. Mark, no one, and I mean no one on YouTube puts out college content like you do. Very grateful to you and your guests for their coverage. Mark, do you think you can have Jack Dempsey or Ryan Abraham? So I'm going to contact whoever this Jack Dempsey guy is. I believe he's not the boxing champion from 100 years ago. Jack Dempsey. Ryan Abraham just contacted me yesterday. So Ryan Abraham's been on 6 or 7 times. Keely Orr, who's also on his staff, they cover USC football as well as anyone, but they are busy, busy, busy. At one point, they just basically said, sorry, we can't continue to do these. More recently, Ryan has stated that he would be able to come back on. I need USC content. Absolutely. So Ryan and I have a running dialogue, and he gets back to me, but most of the time we just can't connect. Jack Dempsey, USC football. I will make that connection, and hopefully Jack will be on. Yeah, we are only 2.5 hours away from college football. 7 o'clock, UConn is Central Florida. So that means I'm going to enjoy this sunshine. And in some way, shape, or form, you're going to see Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, Nebraska, predictions, previews from me. It may be hurried, rushed, it might be brief, but it's going to be out there very soon. And I will be on the line following Northwestern Purdue tonight at roughly 11:30. We'll do some instant analysis, talk about that game, talk about UConn Central Florida, if there's anything to talk about there, and get you set up for Friday night. All right. Right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We will see you very soon. Enjoy football. We've got football tonight. We will see you soon. Enjoy the games.